My rich aunt left me $5 million. The parents who abandoned me at a bus station 20 years ago suddenly showed up at the will reading. They told the lawyer I was mentally unstable and that they were filing for conservatorship to protect me and my inheritance. They smirked, thinking they had me cornered. They didn't know my aunt had left me one last secret weapon. It wasn't money. It was a little black notebook. And the moment my lawyer opened it, their smug smiles disappeared forever. You won't believe what happened next. Before I tell you what was in that notebook, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. And if you have ever had to fight family for what is rightfully yours, please hit that like button and subscribe. You will not want to miss what happens next. The air in Mr. Patterson's office was thick and heavy. It smelled like old books, expensive leather, and stale grief. My grief. I sat in a chair that felt too big for me. My black funeral dress itching against my skin. I was 28 years old, and the only person who ever loved me in this world was gone. I felt numb. Hollowed out like a building after a fire. All the important parts were just ash. The room itself was impressive, I guess. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Atlanta skyline. But all I saw was gray and indifferent sky. The walls were lined with degrees and certifications. A testament to Mr. Patterson's success. But none of it mattered. The silence in the room was a heavy blanket. Across the massive mahogany desk, Mr. Patterson looked at me with kind, sad eyes. He wasn't just my Aunt Victoria's lawyer. He was her best friend. He was an older, distinguished African-American man. His graying hair perfectly shaped. His suit perfect, even if the day was not. He had known me since I was 8, ever since my aunt had found me terrified and filthy at that bus station and brought me into her life. That day was burned into my memory. August 15th, 2003. The Atlanta Greyhound station. I was 8 years old, wearing a dirty pink t-shirt and jeans. I had a small backpack with 2 changes of clothes. No toothbrush, no money, no phone number to call. My mother had brought me there that morning. She'd been different. Cold. Distant. She'd bought me a hot dog from a vendor, told me to sit on a bench, told me to wait. Someone's coming to get you, she'd said. Who? I'd asked. My Aunt Victoria, she'd said. Your father's sister. Why? I'd asked. Because we can't take care of you anymore, she'd said. Her voice was flat, matter of fact, like she was discussing the weather. You'll be better off with her, she'd said. She has money. A big house. She can give you things we can't. I'd started crying then. Don't be dramatic, my mother had said. She'd stood up, smoothed her skirt. Be good, Maya, she'd said. And then she'd walked away. Just walked away. I'd sat on that bench for 6 hours, watching people come and go. Buses arriving and departing. Families reuniting. Lovers kissing. Everyone had somewhere to go. Someone waiting for them. Everyone except me. I'd cried until I had no tears left. Then I'd just sat there. Numb. A security guard had approached me around 2 in the afternoon. You okay, little girl? He'd asked. I'd nodded, too scared to tell the truth. Where are your parents? He'd asked. Coming soon, I'd lied. He'd looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. You stay right here, okay? He'd said. I'd nodded. He'd walked away. Around 4 o'clock, a woman had approached me. Tall, elegant, beautiful in a way that made you stop and stare. She wore a cream-colored suit, pearls at her neck. Her hair was natural, pulled back in an elegant bun. She carried herself like royalty. Maya, she'd said. Her voice was warm, gentle. I'd looked up at her. Are you Maya Carter? I'd nodded. She'd sat down next to me. I'm Victoria, she'd said. Your aunt. I'd stared at her. I didn't know I had an aunt. Your father is my brother, she'd said. Though we haven't spoken in many years. Your mother called me this morning. Told me where to find you. She'd looked at me then. Really looked at me. Her eyes were kind. Sad. And I knew. She knew what they'd done. Are you hungry? She'd asked. I'd nodded. She'd taken my hand. Warm and steady. Come with me, she'd said. I'm going to take care of you now. I'd followed her out of that bus station. Into her car, a beautiful Mercedes. She'd driven me to her house in Collier Heights. A big, beautiful house with a garden. She'd fed me, given me a bath, put me in clean pajamas. Tucked me into a bed in a room that smelled like lavender. You're safe now, she'd said. I'm not going anywhere. And she hadn't. For 20 years, she'd been there. Every birthday. Every graduation. Every triumph and every failure. She'd raised me. Loved me. Protected me. When my parents had walked away, she'd walked in. And she'd never left. He was family in a way my real family never was. He had been there for my high school graduation. He had advised me when I started my own small digital strategy firm. He was a safe place. He cleared his throat. His voice deep and gentle, a stark contrast to the harshness of my grief. "I know this is hard, Maya," he said. "Victoria was a remarkable woman. More than just a client to me. She was a sister." I tried to nod. My throat felt thick with cement. I couldn't find any words. I just stared at the single-framed photo on his desk. Him and Aunt Victoria, at a charity gala. Both of them laughing, alive and vibrant. A fresh wave of pain hit me. "She loved you fiercely," he continued, seeming to understand my silence. "She was so proud of the woman you became. Your business, your strength. She saw all of it. She talked about you constantly." He placed his steady dark hand on a thick leather-bound folder that sat between us. It looked ancient, important. "She was also meticulous," he said. "She knew this day would come. She loved you so much, Maya, that she prepared for it. She prepared for everything." I knew what everything meant. It meant them. The people who shared my blood but not my life. The people who hadn't called, written, or even sent a single text message in 20 years. A cold dread, separate from my grief, began to creep into my stomach. I just wanted this to be over. I wanted to go back to my aunt's empty house in the Collier Heights neighborhood, crawl into her bed, and sleep for a week. The silence in that house was deafening, but it was my silence. It was safe. Aunt Victoria had made it safe. "We will make this quick," Mr. Patterson said softly, as if reading my mind. "I know you need to rest. We just have to get through the legal necessities." He put on his reading glasses. The room was deathly quiet. I could hear the faint tick of the grandfather clock in the corner. A sound that usually comforted me, but now just sounded like time running out. I could hear the sound of my own pulse drumming in my ears. He opened the folder. The sound of the thick, expensive paper sliding open was loud in the silence. "I, Victoria James," he began. His voice clear and formal, taking on the official tone of his profession. "Being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." Slam. The office door burst open. It didn't just open. It was thrown, slamming against the interior wall with a crack that made me jump so hard my teeth clicked together. My heart leaped into my throat, pounding like a trapped bird. All the air was sucked out of the room. And then I heard it. A sound I hadn't heard in 2 decades, but my body remembered it instantly. A sound my nightmares were made of. The sharp, aggressive, entitled click-clack-click of expensive high heels on a polished hardwood floor. A sound that meant one thing and one thing only. She was here. My mother. Evelyn Carter. The woman who had left me at a Greyhound bus station when I was 8 years old. She strode into the room like she owned it. Like she owned the very air we breathed. She was 52 now, but she looked younger. Expensive work, clearly. Her skin was unnaturally smooth and tight. Her lips plumped. Her hair a perfect honey blonde that couldn't possibly be natural. She was wearing a black Chanel dress. I recognized it because Aunt Victoria had owned the same one. Real pearls at her neck. Designer sunglasses perched on her head despite being indoors. She looked like money. Old money. Untouchable money. But I knew the truth. She didn't have a dime. She never had. Behind her, my father, Richard Carter, walked in. He looked older than 55. Haggard. His expensive suit couldn't hide the defeated slump of his shoulders. His eyes were bloodshot. His face was puffy and gray. He looked like a man who had been drinking for 20 years straight, which, from what Aunt Victoria had told me, he had. And behind them both, like a shadow, came my brother. Dylan. He was 30 now, tall, handsome in that entitled prep school way. He wore an expensive gray suit, his dark hair perfectly styled. His watch alone probably cost more than most people's cars. But his eyes were cold, empty. The woman who had left me at a Greyhound bus station when I was 8 years old. She strode into the room like she owned it. Like she owned the very air we breathed. She was 52 now, but she looked younger. Expensive work, clearly. Her skin was unnaturally smooth and tight. Her lips plumped. Her hair a perfect honey blonde that couldn't possibly be natural. She was wearing a black Chanel dress. I recognized it because Aunt Victoria had owned the same one. The eyes of someone who had never worked a day in his life and never would. Mr. Patterson shot to his feet. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Excuse me," he said. His voice was ice. "This is a private legal proceeding." "Oh, I know what it is," my mother said. Her voice was sugar and poison. She pulled off her sunglasses with a dramatic flourish. "I'm Evelyn Carter," she announced, as if her name meant something. As if we should all be impressed. "You need to leave immediately, or I will call security." My mother laughed. A bright, tinkling, utterly false laugh. "Oh, I don't think so," she said. She walked toward the desk. Her heels clicking with each step. She pulled a folded document from her expensive handbag. "You see," she said. She laid it on Mr. Patterson's desk with the confidence of someone playing a winning hand. We filed an emergency petition with Fulton County Probate Court this morning. An emergency petition? Mr. Patterson repeated. His voice was dangerous now. Yes, my mother said. She smiled. A smile that didn't reach her eyes. For conservatorship. The word hung in the air like poison gas. Conservatorship, I whispered. My voice sounded small. Broken. My mother turned to look at me. Her eyes were cold. Calculating. Yes, sweetheart, she said. The endearment sounded obscene coming from her mouth. You've been through so much trauma. Losing Victoria. Being all alone. She put her hand over her heart in mock sympathy. We're worried about you, darling. Worried that you're not in a stable mental state to handle such a large inheritance. $5 million, my father added. His voice was rough, eager. It's a lot of money for someone so young. So inexperienced. My brother Dylan spoke for the first time. His voice was smooth, practiced. We just want to protect you, Maya, he said. Protect you from making poor decisions. From being taken advantage of. The room was spinning. Conservatorship. They wanted to control me. Control my money. Control my life. Just like Britney Spears. Just like all those stories you hear about. Mr. Patterson's face had gone from angry to absolutely murderous. This is outrageous, he said. He picked up the document. Scanned it quickly. This petition is baseless. Maya is a fully competent adult. A successful business owner. There is no medical evidence of any kind of incapacity. Oh, but there will be, my mother said. She smiled wider. We have a psychiatrist lined up. Dr. Winters. Very respected. He's prepared to testify that Maya is suffering from severe depression, anxiety, and is unable to make sound financial decisions. I felt like I'd been punched. Dr. Winters. I'd never heard of him. I'd never seen a psychiatrist in my life. This is fraud, Mr. Patterson said. His voice shook with rage. This is criminal. My mother just shrugged. Call it what you want, she said. But we filed the paperwork. The judge will hear it. And until then, my father said. He straightened up, suddenly looking less defeated. Maya's assets are frozen. She can't access the inheritance. Can't make any financial decisions. Not until the court hearing, my mother finished. She looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time. Her eyes were triumphant. So you see, Maya, she said. We're going to be spending a lot of time together. Just like a real family. The word family coming from her mouth made me want to vomit. Mr. Patterson slammed his hand on the desk. Get out, he said. His voice was quiet but deadly. Get out of my office right now. My mother picked up her sunglasses. Put them back on her head. We'll see you in court, counselor, she said. She turned to leave. Her heels clicking. My father and brother followed. But at the door, my mother paused. Turned back. Oh, and Maya? She said. Her voice was sweet. Poisonous. You should probably start thinking about where you're going to live. That big house in Collier Heights. All alone. So much space. Maybe you should come stay with us. For a while. For your own safety. She smiled. Just until this all gets sorted out. And then she was gone. The door closed behind them. The silence that followed was deafening. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. 20 years. 20 years of silence. 20 years of nothing. And now, the moment Aunt Victoria died, they appeared. Like vulture. Mr. Patterson walked around his desk. He knelt in front of my chair. Took my cold hands in his warm ones. Maya, he said. His voice was gentle but firm. Look at me. I forced myself to meet his eyes. We are going to fight this, he said. Every single word, every single lie. They will not win. But my voice, when it came out, was barely a whisper. They froze my assets, I said. I can't pay for a lawyer. I can't fight them. He squeezed my hands. You don't pay me, he said. Victoria already did. Years ago. She set up a separate fund. Just for this. She knew this day might come. I stared at him. She knew? He nodded. She knew they would come for the money, he said. She knew they would try something. She prepared for everything. He stood up. Walked back to his desk. Picked up the leather-bound folder. And she left you the weapons to destroy them, he said. He opened the folder. Pulled out a small black leather notebook. Old. Well-worn. The kind with a lock on it. This, he said, holding it up. This is your inheritance. Not the money. This. I stood up. Walked to the desk on shaking legs. What is it? I whispered. He opened it. The pages were filled with Aunt Victoria's handwriting. Neat. Precise. Dates. Amounts. Names. It's a ledger, he said. Every single financial transaction your parents ever made with Victoria. Every time they asked her for money. Every time she gave it. Every promise they made. Every promise they broke. He turned the pages. 22 years of documentation, he said. Starting with the day they came to her. Desperate. Broke. The day they offered to sell you. The room tilted. Sell me? I repeated. He nodded. His face was grim. They came to Victoria when you were 8, he said. They were in debt. Gambling debts. Mostly. Your father. They were about to lose everything. They needed money. Fast. And Victoria had money. She turned to a specific page. Pointed. They offered her a deal, he said. $500,000. In exchange, they would sign over full legal custody of you. They would disappear from your life. No contact. No visitation. Nothing. My legs gave out. I sat down hard. $500,000. That's what I was worth to them. Mr. Patterson continued, his voice steady. Victoria agreed, he said. But she made them sign a contract. He pulled out another document from the folder, laid it on the desk. It was old. Yellowed. But the signatures at the bottom were clear. Evelyn Carter. Richard Carter. And witnessed by Victoria James and Thomas Patterson. This contract states, Mr. Patterson said. His finger traced the text. That in exchange for $500,000, Evelyn and Richard Carter agree to relinquish all parental rights to Maya Carter. They agree to no contact of any kind. They agree to never make any claim on Maya's person, property, or future inheritance. And if they ever violate this agreement, they must return the full amount plus 20% annual interest. He looked up at me. Compounded, he added. Do you know how much $500,000 becomes after 20 years, at 20% annual interest? I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. $9,700,000, he said. They owe your aunt's estate $9.7 million, which, since you are the sole heir, means they owe you. The magnitude of it crashed over me. They sold me, I whispered. Yes, he said, but they also signed away any right to ever come back. This conservatorship petition, he tapped the document my mother had left. This violates the contract. The moment they filed it, the debt came due. He pulled out a third item from the folder, a small USB drive. And this, he said. This is the final weapon. What is it? I asked. Your aunt was a careful woman, he said. 3 months ago, your mother called her. First time in 20 years. She wanted to reconnect. She wanted to talk about you. She wanted to come visit. Victoria knew what was happening. She knew she was sick. She knew she was dying. And she knew they would smell blood in the water. So she recorded the call. He held up the USB drive. Your mother laid out the entire plan, he said. How they would wait until Victoria died. How they would file for conservatorship. How they had already found a corrupt psychiatrist willing to testify. How they planned to drain the inheritance. Every single detail. In her own voice. I stared at the little drive. Everything was there. The contract they violated. The debt they owed. The confession of their plan. All documented. All recorded. All illegal. Mr. Patterson looked at me. His eyes were fierce. You are not helpless, Maya, he said. You are not a victim. You are armed. And when we walk into that courtroom, we are going to bury them. I picked up the black notebook. Felt its weight in my hands. 20 years of evidence. 20 years of their lies. All preserved by the woman who loved me. The woman who knew this day would come. The woman who had prepared me for war. I looked up at Mr. Patterson. When is the hearing? I asked. My voice was steady now. Clear. 1 week, he said. Emergency petition, remember? The judge fast-tracked it. 1 week, I repeated. 1 week to prepare. 1 week to build my defense. 1 week to destroy them. I stood up, tucked the black notebook under my arm. Let's go to war, I said. Mr. Patterson smiled. A real smile. Proud. Victoria would be so proud of you, he said. I walked to the door. Paused. Turned back. Mr. Patterson? I asked. Yes? Why didn't Aunt Victoria tell me? I asked. About the contract. About selling me. About any of it. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because she didn't want you to grow up feeling bought. She wanted you to grow up feeling loved, which you were. The tears came then. Finally. Not tears of grief anymore. Tears of rage. Pure. Burning. Clarifying rage. They thought they could come back. Thought they could take what wasn't theirs. Thought I was weak. Helpless. Alone. They forgot one thing. I wasn't alone. I had Victoria. Even in death, she was protecting me. And I was going to make sure her final gift wasn't wasted. I walked out of that office with my head high. The war had begun. And I was ready. For the next 7 days, I lived in Aunt Victoria's house. The house that was now mine. The house my mother wanted. I didn't sleep much. I spent every waking hour going through the black notebook. Every page. Every entry. Every transaction. The story it told was devastating. It started 22 years ago. August 15th. The first entry. Richard and Evelyn Carter request loan, $500,000. To cover gambling debts. Collateral offered, full custody of daughter Maya, age 8. Contract drafted. Contract signed. Payment made. Then, year after year, more entries. Evelyn calls, asking for more money. Refused. Contract cited. Richard calls, threatening to contact Maya. Refused. Legal action threatened. Dylan calls, asking for tuition money. Aunt Victoria paid for it. Not as a gift. As a loan. Documented. With interest. Everything was documented. Every phone call. Every request. Every threat. Aunt Victoria had kept meticulous records. Because she knew. She knew this day would come. On day 3, I met with Mr. Patterson at his office. We went through everything. The contract. The ledger. The recording. We built the case. We prepared the defense. We sharpened the weapons. On day 5, the other shoe dropped. I was served with papers. Not just the conservatorship petition. A restraining order. My mother claimed I was dangerous. Unstable. A threat to myself and others. The order prohibited me from contacting any member of my family. From coming within 500 feet of them. From accessing any of the inheritance. It was brilliant. Actually. Evil but brilliant. They were building a narrative. Crazy daughter. Grieving. Dangerous. Needs to be controlled. For her own good. Mr. Patterson filed an emergency motion to dismiss. We attached the contract. We attached the ledger. We attached a detailed brief outlining the fraud. The judge scheduled a hearing. 6 days after Aunt Victoria's funeral. The day before the conservatorship hearing. We were going to preempt them. Hit first. Hit hard. On day 6, my mother called. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Maya. Her voice was syrup. How are you holding up, sweetheart? I said nothing. I know this is all so difficult, she continued, losing Victoria. All this legal nonsense. Legal nonsense, I repeated. My voice was flat. Well, yes, she said. She laughed that fake laugh. You know lawyers. Always making things complicated. Listen, she said. Her tone shifted. Became more serious. Why don't we just forget all this? You give us, say, half the inheritance. 2.5 million. We drop the conservatorship. We go our separate ways. Everyone wins. I almost laughed. 2.5 million, I said. Yes, she said. It's more than fair. You keep half. We keep half. It's what Victoria would have wanted. Family should stay together. Family, I repeated. Yes, she said. We're your family, Maya. Blood is blood. I was quiet for a long moment. Then I said, see you in court, Mom. And I hung up. She called back 17 times. I didn't answer. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I lay in Aunt Victoria's bed. In the house that smelled like her. In the silence that she had made safe. I held the black notebook, pressed it against my chest. Thank you, I whispered to the darkness. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for preparing me. I'm ready. The next morning, I dressed carefully. Navy blue suit. White blouse. Simple jewelry. My hair pulled back. Minimal makeup. I looked professional. Competent. Calm. The opposite of unstable. Mr. Patterson picked me up at 8. We drove to the Fulton County Courthouse in silence. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. I was ready for war. The courtroom was already full when we arrived. My mother, father, and brother sat on one side. Their lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit, sat with them. They all looked confident. Smug. They thought they'd already won. We took our seats on the other side. Mr. Patterson laid out his briefcase. Organized his documents. The black notebook sat on the table in front of me. The judge entered. Judge Sarah Brennan. 50-something. Sharp eyes. No nonsense de mineur. All rise, the bailiff called. We stood. The judge Saturday. Be seated, she said. We Saturday. She looked at the papers in front of her. Then she looked up at Mr. Patterson. I've reviewed your emergency motion to dismiss, she said. These are serious allegations, counselor. They are, Your Honor, Mr. Patterson said. And we have the evidence to support every single one. The judge looked at my mother's lawyer. Mr. Reynolds, she said. Your response? Mr. Reynolds stood. Your Honor, he said. His voice was smooth. This is clearly a desperate attempt by an emotionally unstable young woman to avoid the help she desperately needs. The evidence Mr. Patterson claims to have, is likely forged or misinterpreted. We ask that the court proceed with the conservatorship hearing as scheduled. Judge Brennan looked at Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson, she said. He stood. Your Honor, he said. I'd like to enter into evidence 3 items. He held up the contract. First, a legally binding contract signed 20 years ago by Evelyn and Richard Carter. He held up the ledger. Second, a detailed financial ledger documenting every interaction between the Carters and the deceased. He held up the USB drive. And third, a recorded phone conversation between Mrs. Carter and the deceased, in which Mrs. Carter outlines in detail her plan to fraudulently obtain conservatorship over my client. The courtroom went silent. My mother's face went white. My father looked like he might pass out. My brother's jaw dropped. Mr. Reynolds looked at them. Looked at Mr. Patterson. Looked at the judge. Your Honor, he started. I haven't finished, Mr. Patterson said. He opened the black notebook. This ledger shows that the Carters received $500,000 in exchange for relinquishing all parental rights to Maya Carter. They agreed never to contact her, never to make any claim on her. By filing this conservatorship petition, they have violated that contract. Under the terms of the agreement, they now owe the estate $9,700,000. The room erupted. My mother jumped to her feet. That's a lie, she screamed. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. Order, she shouted. Order. My mother sat down. Her face was twisted with rage. Judge Brennan looked at Mr. Patterson. I want to see all of it, she said. Every document. Every recording. Everything. Mr. Patterson smiled. Of course, Your Honor, he said. For the next 2 hours, we laid it all out. The contract was entered into evidence. Mr. Patterson handed it to the judge. She examined it carefully. The signatures. The dates. The terms. This contract appears to be authentic, she said. She looked at my mother's lawyer. Mr. Reynolds, do you have any evidence to dispute the validity of this document? Mr. Reynolds stood up. His confidence was cracking. Your Honor, he said, my clients were under duress when they signed this. They were in financial distress. They didn't understand what they were signing. The judge looked at the contract. The contract is 11 pages long, she said. It's written in plain English. It clearly states that the Carters are relinquishing all parental rights in exchange for $500,000. It was witnessed by 2 attorneys. And it was notarized. Where exactly is the duress? Mr. Reynolds opened his mouth, closed it, sat down. The judge turned the pages. I watched my mother's face. She was pale, sweating. Her perfect makeup was starting to run. My father looked like he might be sick. Dylan was texting under the table, probably calling his lawyer. The judge looked up. This contract also states, she said, that any violation of the no-contact clause triggers an immediate repayment provision. She looked at my mother. Mrs. Carter, she said, when exactly did you file the conservatorship petition? My mother's voice was barely a whisper. Last week, she said. And when did your sister-in-law, Victoria James, pass away? 2 weeks ago, my mother said. So you waited exactly 1 week after her death to violate this contract, the judge said. It wasn't a question. My mother said nothing. The judge made a note. Then she turned to the ledger. Mr. Patterson, she said, please walk me through this ledger. Mr. Patterson stood, opened the black notebook. This is a chronological record of every financial interaction between Victoria James and the Carter family, he said. He turned to the first page. The 15th of August 2003, he read. Initial payment of $500,000 made to Richard and Evelyn Carter in exchange for full custody of minor child Maya Carter. He turned the page. The 20th of September 2003, he continued. Evelyn Carter calls requesting additional funds. $25,000 for, quote, moving expenses. Request denied. He turned another page. The 3rd of November, 2003. Richard Carter calls requesting loan. $50,000 for, quote, business investment. Request denied. The list went on. Page after page. Year after year. Request after request. All denied. All documented. But then, Mr. Patterson said. He turned to a page marked with a red tab. In 2008, Victoria James received a call from Dylan Carter. He was 18. He needed money for college tuition. My brother sat up straighter. Victoria agreed to pay, Mr. Patterson said. But not as a gift. As a loan, with a formal promissory note. He pulled out another document. Handed it to the judge. Dylan Carter signed this note, he said, agreeing to repay $120,000 in tuition payments. With 5% annual interest. The judge examined it. Mr. Dylan Carter, she said, looking at my brother. Did you sign this? My brother looked at Mr. Reynolds. Mr. Reynolds looked at the document. Then nodded. It appears so, Your Honor, Dylan said. His voice was less confident now. And did you repay this loan? The judge asked. Dylan said nothing. Mr. Patterson answered. No, Your Honor, he said. According to the ledger, no payments were ever made. The balance, with interest, is now approximately $215,000. My brother's face went red. The judge made another note. Anything else? She asked Mr. Patterson. Yes, Your Honor, he said. The recording. He held up the USB drive. This is the final piece of evidence, he said. A recorded phone conversation between Victoria James and Evelyn Carter. Recorded 3 months before Victoria's death. The judge looked at my mother. Mrs. Carter, she said. Did you have a phone conversation with your sister-in-law 3 months ago? My mother's hands were shaking. She started. Yes or no, the judge said. Yes, my mother whispered. And did you know you were being recorded? No, my mother said. Georgia is a one-party consent state, Mr. Patterson interjected. The person doing the recording does not need to inform the other party. The judge nodded. Let's hear it, she said. Mr. Patterson inserted the USB drive into a laptop. Connected it to the courtroom speakers. The recording began. My mother's voice filled the room. Clear. Unmistakable. Victoria, I know we haven't talked in years, but I wanted to reach out about Maya. There was static. Then Aunt Victoria's voice. Calm. Knowing. Do you, Evelyn? After 20 years? My mother laughed on the recording. I know. But Dylan's been asking about her. And Richard thinks maybe it's time to reconnect. Aunt Victoria's voice was dry. How convenient. The timing, I mean. My mother's voice became defensive. What do you mean? I mean that I'm dying, Evelyn, Aunt Victoria said. And you know it. Don't insult my intelligence. There was a pause. Then my mother's voice, quieter. I heard you were sick. I'm sorry. Are you? Aunt Victoria asked. My mother didn't answer that. Instead, she said, when you're gone, Maya will inherit everything. Another pause. Yes, Aunt Victoria said. She will. And my mother's voice, sharp now. She's not ready for that kind of money. She'll be taken advantage of. She needs family. Real family. To protect her. My father's voice appeared in the background of the recording. Tell her about the lawyer. My mother's voice became conspiratorial. Between you and me, Victoria, we've already talked to a lawyer about options. What kind of options? Aunt Victoria asked. Legal options, my mother said. To protect Maya. You mean a conservatorship, Aunt Victoria said. It wasn't a question. My mother was quiet. Then, yes. We can file after you're gone. Victoria, I know we haven't talked in years, but I wanted to reach out about Maya. There was static. Then Aunt Victoria's voice. Calm. Knowing. Do you, Evelyn? After 20 years? My mother laughed on the recording. I know. But Dylan's been asking about her. And Richard thinks maybe it's time to reconnect. Aunt Victoria's voice was dry. How convenient. The timing, I mean. My mother's voice became defensive. Maya doesn't need $5 million. She's got her little business. But us? We've struggled for so long, Victoria. You don't know how hard it's been. We deserve this. After everything we've been through. There was a long silence on the recording. Then Aunt Victoria's voice. Soft. Sad. You sold your daughter for $500,000, she said. And now you want to steal $5 million more. My mother's voice turned sharp. We didn't sell her. We gave her to you. You wanted her. We didn't. It was better for everyone. Another silence. Then Aunt Victoria. I'm recording this, Evelyn. You know that, right? My mother's gasp was audible on the recording. You what? Every word you've said, Aunt Victoria continued. I've recorded it. I'm going to make sure Maya has this. When you come for her, and I know you will, she'll be ready. She'll have the truth. The recording cut off. The courtroom was dead silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Judge Brennan looked at my mother. Her face was cold fury. Mrs. Carter, she said. Do you have anything to say? My mother's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. That recording is, she started. Her voice was shaking. It's illegal. It's invasion of privacy. It's perfectly legal, Mr. Patterson said. And it's your voice. Your words. Your plan. Outlining conspiracy to commit fraud. Mr. Reynolds stood up. His face was ashen. Your Honor, he said. I need to confer with my clients. Sit down, Mr. Reynolds, the judge said. Her voice was steel. You'll have plenty of time to confer in a moment. She looked at the court reporter. Let the record show, she said, that this court has heard clear and convincing evidence of a conspiracy to defraud Maya Carter of her rightful inheritance through the fraudulent filing of a conservatorship petition. She looked at my mother, at my father, at my brother. Let the record also show, she continued, that the petitioners violated a legally binding contract. that they owe the estate of Victoria James $9,700,000, and that they attempted to commit fraud upon this court by presenting false claims of mental incapacity. She paused. This is one of the most egregious cases I have seen in 20 years on the bench. My father made a choking sound. Started to stand. Then collapsed. Hit the floor hard. The bailiff rushed over. Call 911, someone shouted. Maya doesn't need $5 million. She's got her little business. But us? We've struggled for so long, Victoria. You don't know how hard it's been. We deserve this. After everything we've been through. There was a long silence on the recording. Then, Aunt Victoria's voice. Soft. Sad. You sold your daughter for $500,000, she said. And now you want to steal $5 million more. My mother's voice turned sharp. We didn't sell her. We gave her to you. Judge Brennan looked at my mother. Her face was cold fury. Mrs. Carter, she said. Do you have anything to say? My mother's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. That recording is, she started. Her voice was shaking. It's illegal. It's invasion of privacy. It's perfectly legal, Mr. Patterson said. And it's your voice. Your words. Your plan. Outlining conspiracy to commit fraud. Mr. Reynolds stood up. His face was ashen. Your Honor, he said. My mother screamed. Marcus. The courtroom erupted into chaos. Judge Brennan banged her gavel. Order, she shouted. Order in this court. The paramedics arrived minutes later. Rushed in with a stretcher. My father was conscious but gray, clutching his chest. They loaded him onto the stretcher. My mother followed, crying. Mr. Reynolds tried to speak to the judge. Your Honor, in light of my client's medical emergency. The petition is denied, Judge Brennan said. No revenge. No closure. Just nothing. Come on, Mr. Patterson said gently. Let's get you home. Judge Brennan looked at my mother. Her face was stone. Mrs. Carter, she said. Her voice was ice. Do you have anything to say? My mother opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. That recording is, she started. It's inadmissible, Mr. Reynolds interrupted. Standing up. She had no knowledge she was being recorded. It's a violation of, he fumbled. Georgia is a one-party consent state, Mr. Patterson said calmly. As long as one person on the call consents to the recording, it's perfectly legal. And Victoria James, the person doing the recording, certainly consented. Mr. Reynolds sat down. Defeated. Judge Brennan leaned back in her chair. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, she said. She looked at my mother. You and your husband sold your daughter 20 years ago for $500,000. You signed a contract agreeing never to contact her again. You violated that contract by filing this conservatorship petition. And you outlined your fraudulent plan in a recorded phone call. My mother said nothing. Judge Brennan turned to the bailiff. Bring me the conservatorship petition, she said. The bailiff handed her the file. She opened it. Read for a moment. Then she looked up. This petition claims Maya Carter is mentally unstable, she said. Unable to make sound decisions. A danger to herself. She looked at me. Miss Carter, she said. Would you please stand? I stood. My legs were steady. Tell me about your business, the judge said. I took a breath. I run a digital strategy firm, I said. We specialize in brand development and online marketing for small businesses. I've been operating for 5 years. Last year, our revenue was $400,000. We have 6 employees. The judge nodded. And your education? Bachelor's degree in computer science from Georgia Tech, I said. Master's in business administration from Emory. The judge looked at my mother's lawyer. Mr. Reynolds, she said. Does this sound like someone who is mentally unstable and unable to make sound decisions? Mr. Reynolds said nothing. Judge Brennan closed the file. The petition for conservatorship is denied, she said. With extreme prejudice. This court finds that this was a bad faith filing based on fraud and perjury. My mother let out a sound. A high-pitched, keening wail. Judge Brennan wasn't finished. I am referring this entire case file to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for immediate criminal investigation into conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, and extortion. My father stood up. His face was gray. Your Honor, please, he started. Sit down, Judge Brennan said. Her voice cracked like a whip. He's Saturday. Furthermore, the judge continued. I am enforcing the contract entered into evidence. The Carters will have 30 days to repay the sum of $9,700,000 to the estate of Victoria James. Failure to do so will result in liens against any and all assets. She banged her gavel. This court is adjourned. The room exploded into chaos. My mother was screaming. My father was crying. My brother was on his phone, frantically calling someone. Mr. Reynolds was packing his briefcase, trying to escape. Mr. Patterson turned to me. His eyes were proud. "It's over," he said. "You're free." I looked across the courtroom. At my mother, red-faced and shrieking. At my father, broken and defeated. At my brother, finally understanding that the money was gone. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No revenge. No vindication. Just emptiness. They were strangers to me. They had always been strangers. Mr. Patterson put his hand on my shoulder. "Let's go home," he said. We walked out of the courtroom together, past my family, past their lawyer, past the reporters who had somehow gotten wind of the case, out into the bright Atlanta sunshine. I took a breath. The air smelled clean, fresh, free. 1 month later, I was sitting in what used to be Aunt Victoria's living room. It was my living room now. I had transformed it into my office. State-of-the-art equipment, clean white walls, bright, natural light. Aunt Victoria's African art hung proudly on the walls. The pieces my mother had called ethnic and gloomy. I loved them. They were beautiful. They were heritage. They were home. My phone rang. "Mr. Patterson." I smiled and answered. "Good news, I hope?" I asked. "The best," he said. I could hear the smile in his voice. "The IRS has officially frozen all assets belonging to your parents. Every bank account, every stock, their house. It's all locked down pending the criminal fraud and tax evasion charges." "Tax evasion?" I asked. He laughed. "Turns out they never paid taxes on that $500,000, he said. Or on any of the other money Victoria gave them over the years. The IRS is very interested." "Wow," I said softly. "And your brother?" he added. "Dylan? What about him?" "The IRS flagged him as a co-conspirator," Mr. Patterson said. "Since he received money from the original payment for his tuition, and since he was part of the conservatorship scheme, they've frozen his accounts too. The final loose end. The golden child who had stood in this very room and told me I was trapped. He hadn't gotten away." "Thank you, Mr. Patterson," I said. A feeling of pure light freedom washing over me. "Thank you for everything. You did the hard work, Maya," he said. "You just needed the tools. Enjoy your life. You've earned it." We said goodbye. I hung up the phone. It was over. Completely. I turned in my chair, looked at my desk. Next to my monitor, I had placed the small framed photo of Aunt Victoria that used to sit on Mr. Patterson's desk. He had given it to me. She was smiling, her eyes bright and full of life and laughter. I reached out and lightly touched the glass. "I'm free, Aunt Victoria," I whispered to the photo. "They're gone. They can never hurt me again. You were right. You prepared me for everything. You gave me the weapons to save myself. The contract that proved they sold me. The ledger that documented every lie. The recording that exposed their plan. You knew they'd come. You knew they'd try, and you made sure I could fight back." I paused, felt the tears come. Not tears of grief anymore. Tears of gratitude. "Thank you," I whispered. "For finding me at that bus station. For taking me in. For raising me when they abandoned me. For loving me when they never could. For protecting me even after you were gone." I wiped my eyes, turned back to my desk. A new design was waiting. A new client. A new opportunity. This was my life now. No more looking back. No more dwelling on what they did. No more anger. Just forward. Just building. Just living. I opened my design software. Started working. And for the first time in a month, I felt at peace. Aunt Victoria had given me everything. Not just money. Not just a house. Not just a business. She'd given me the tools to defend myself, the strength to stand up, the courage to fight, the wisdom to win. And she'd done it all with love. Real love. The kind that protects. The kind that prepares. The kind that lasts beyond death. That's what this story is really about. Not revenge. Not money. Not even justice. It's about love. The love of someone who sees you. Who values you. Who arms you for battle. It's about the weapons left behind by those who truly care. Not swords or guns. But truth. Documentation. Evidence. The tools that can't be argued with. The facts that can't be denied. And it's about having the courage to use them. Even when it's hard. Even when it's family. Even when the whole world is watching. My parents thought I was weak. They thought I was alone. They thought they could take advantage. They forgot one thing. I had Victoria. And Victoria had made sure I would never be defenseless. So to anyone listening who feels powerless, who feels taken advantage of, who feels like they can't fight back, remember this. Document everything. Save every text. Record every conversation. Keep every receipt. Because the truth is your weapon. And someday, you might need it. I turned back to my work. A new design. A new idea. A new life. And for the first time I smiled. A real, genuine smile. And I got back to work. The greatest defense against those who try to define you with lies is to arm yourself with undeniable truth. This story teaches that while greed and deception can build a powerful illusion, it all shatters when confronted with cold, hard evidence. True strength isn't just surviving. It's having the courage to use the weapons that those who truly loved you left behind. A contract. A ledger. A recording. Real love doesn't just nurture. It protects and empowers you to win your own battles, even when that love is no longer physically present. And that's the most powerful inheritance of all. Not money. Not property. But preparation. Protection, and the unwavering belief that you deserve to be defended. Even from your own family. Especially from your own family. Because blood doesn't make you family. Love does. Sacrifice does. Protection does. Aunt Victoria wasn't my blood relative. But she was more family to me than my parents ever were. She proved it every single day. And in the end, she proved it one final time. By making sure I could stand on my own. By giving me the tools to fight. By loving me enough to prepare me for war. That's real family. That's real love. And that's what I carry with me every single day. Have you ever discovered a secret weapon from your past that gave you the strength to save your future? Have you ever had someone believe in you so much they protected you even when they were gone? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. And please subscribe, because sometimes the quiet ones hold all the evidence. Thank you for listening.